Hi guys, I'm Haley, and for this assignment I wrote about motherhood in Morrison and Faulkner. The research question at the top of my paper is, what does it seem that Morrison is saying about motherhood in Beloved in contrast to Faulkner's portrayal about motherhood in As I Lay Dying? So, the theme of motherhood stood out for me, just in general in Beloved. Setha is the main character, and she kind of represents kind of this fierce, protective mother figure. So it's very obvious that Beloved is carrying that theme and trying to show us the depth of motherhood that's happening for these ex-slaves, especially like Baby Shug. She talks a lot about, not having any closure on what happened to any of her children. And Setha didn't even know her mom, didn't even nurse from her own mother. But yet there's this deep desire for her to protect and nurture her children. And then coming from the true story of Margaret Garner, Setha kind of takes on this role as like this historical mother that did something that seems really crazy, but when you rationalize it the way that these women were rationalizing it, it makes a lot of sense. So, of course, thinking about motherhood that way only covers about half of this prompt. So I started thinking about Faulkner and if he has motherly characters, and the first one that I really thought of was Addie Bundren. She stands out in comparison to Setha for two reasons. They're completely opposite as far as their maternal instinct and their desire to nurture their children. But then the other part of it is they do connect and they do speak to each other in a lot of ways, which kind of brings in Bloom's theory about how there's this influence, yet Morrison is doing something to challenge the character that Faulkner set up. And the reason why I can see this clear connection is because the scenes of Addie Bundren, which As I Lay Dying starts with, is her on her deathbed, her children preparing for her death. And there's that scene, and then in stark contrast to the scene at the end of Beloved where Setha is just kind of done and she's willing herself to die sort of in the same fashion that Baby Shugs did. So there's this scene of Setha that echoes Faulkner greatly, yet how the mothers got there and the stories as a whole are so different. So we show this connection, however, there's this subtle defiance of what Faulkner has established as a motherly character when through the way that Morrison presents Setha to us. Addie Bundren straight out says she has one chapter of perspective in the entire novel, As I Lay Dying. The first sentence, she basically flat out says, "I hate my children." On the other hand, Setha's love for her children is the only thing that really drives her through the entire novel. So there's this stark difference. It seems to me, and this is kind of what my paper was ultimately claiming, is that Morrison is asserting her opinion and her authority on motherhood over Faulkner's depiction of motherhood and his character Addie Bundren. That Addie's overall disdain for her children is burdensome and troubling for the reader, and it seems for Morrison as well. I also think that Morrison is asserting the opinion that sort of hatred for your children is also a little bit unrealistic, especially as she's tying in Margaret Garner, which is a true story, into this character of Setha, who is fiercely, fiercely protective of her children. Just check on my notes to make sure I'm not mentioning anything. Then the other thing is both of these women are willing themselves to die. The key difference, though, is that Setha is willing herself to die after she realizes that despite her love, despite her best intentions, she has ultimately lost her children. Addie, however, was using her children as a sort of bargaining tool to get right and feel like she could be ready to die. So despite the fact that she hasn't nurtured her children, especially her youngest two, she's willing herself to die because she basically has no interest in nurturing her children. And I think that's it. I don't have any more notes. Hopefully this all made sense. And I really hope you guys have a really good winter break, and thank you for listening to this really awkward video.